Welcome to Championship Week here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Along with Dan Murphy, I'm Doug Brown. Glad to have you with us. We're at Park Place Lanes in Windham, New Hampshire, as always, every Sunday here on Stars and Strikes. And today we will get our fourth qualifier for the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions, Dan.
That's right. Been all Steve Plante so far the last 3 weeks, and he's going to see, last 2 weeks anyways, he's going to see if he can make it 3 in a row today.
All right, let's meet our two combatants for this championship match. First of all, our number 3 seed, as Dan was just mentioning, from Manchester, New Hampshire, Steve Plante.
Okay, Steve averaging 121, has a high single of 186. His roll-off score was 674.
And, of course, we mentioned during the 5-game roll-off, Steve ended up in a tie with Joe Tavernese at 674, and after 25 boxes last week, they were still tied. But Steve Plante with a charge at the end to win the match over Joe Tavernese, 376 to 352. And so Steve will try for 3 in a row today. But facing him for the championship, our number 1 seed from Beverly, Massachusetts, Mark Gregory.
Okay, Mark has been averaging 134, high single of 190, and his roll-off score, of course, the top roll-off score in the qualifying round at 676.
And many of you might remember that Mark was just with us several weeks back during the mixed doubles tournament, where he teamed with Janice McIntyre for a couple of weeks and won a couple of matches before they were knocked off in the semifinals. So Steve Plante and Mark Gregory today for the championship. Now, $500 to the runner-up today. $1,000 to the winner and the spot in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. $1,200 for the triple strike jackpot today, and at the end of the hour, our bonus ball contest will be worth $50 as well. So could be a lot of money changing hands in the next hour or so. Be sure and stick around. Our championship match begins after these messages.
Is brought to you in part by Coca-Cola Classic. Always the real thing, always Coca-Cola.
Well, after our first 3 weeks in this series on Candlepin Stars and Strikes, we are left with our number 1 seed, Mark Gregory, at 676 during the roll-off, and our number 3 seed, Steve Plante, at 674 during the roll-off. But, of course, those scores are thrown out now because it's head-to-head 3 games for $1,000 and a spot in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. And Steve Plante starts the match.
Oh, what a start. Oh.
Gets the fans into the match right away.
All right, splits the 3 and the 6. 3 goes immediately down and takes the 7 out. Then it kicks forward for the 4 pin. Oh, seems a crime to get just 4 to making a shot like that. Spread eagle. Let's see if we can make another one.
This one would be even more spectacular. Well, right through the center. Steve likes to play the inside route on shots like this, and is a higher risk, certainly, when you play it that way. So just 6 and 20 for the first 2. And now our number 1 seed, Mark Gregory. Mark combined with Janice McIntyre for 2 wins in mixed doubles. As I mentioned a few weeks ago, the second win, they rolled a 420.
And he'll start off with a 2-4 for a spare.
Nope.
He slides by the 2.
And 9 bucks. Mark from Beverly, Mass. Works for the Automobile Insurers Bureau of Massachusetts. And carries the 4 pin, and it moves into pretty good position, as would on this 1, 2, 6, and 10. Question is, how do you want to play the head pin? And Mark missed it. And it's another 9. So 2 pins the difference after 2 boxes. Steve Plante has rolled a 386 and a 376 in his 2 wins. Yes, it goes, the 5-pin.
I mentioned those final scores. Remember, as let's look at this replay first now, finish that thought. Here, the 5-pin needs a little extra nudge. Those final scores today is even more important, and again, he goes through the middle. As far as qualifying, or as far as the seeding in the Tournament of Champions, Paul Berger's on top with 417. Then they're pretty close, 368 and 362 for Chris Sargent and Chris Grimes.
They qualified in that order, too. Paul Berger was first, then Chris Sargent, then Chris Grimes. Oh, there's a $10 for Steve. But he has not been able to take advantage of these first 2 marks.
Not through lack of effort, though. He's hit the head pin in both marks and gone right through the middle. Spread eagle one time, and spread eagle plus the, I forget, the 8 or the 9 pin.
Oh, big hit that time for Mark Gregory. Ooh, I guess he thought, well, I don't know if he would have been able to get by anyway. I guess probably not, but.
No, he wanted to be a little farther to the right. He knew he threw that too far left and didn't take advantage of that wood. 10 box, 28. Bad news missing that spare. The good news is he survived 2 marks and he's still only 5 pins behind. Crossing over on the Brooklyn side this time.
3-6-10. Let's see what the wood does here. Oh, covered it for his first mark. Don't forget, next weekend, Saturday at noon, we'll have another edition of Candlepin Skins, and next Sunday at noon, we start a brand new series here on Stars and Strikes. As of right now, we don't know who the 2 bowlers will be to start us off next week. But 5 more bowlers will have a chance to move up and qualify for the Tournament of Champions.
A little bit behind himself that time. Left the ball out to the left.
$9, 52 half with 2 marks. Last week, if you missed it, Steve Plante had a 45-pin lead after 2 games. And after 4 boxes of the 3rd game, that 45-pin lead was gone as Joe Tavernese came roaring back at him. But over the last 5 boxes, Steve Plante put up some clutch marks and won the match. A 7.
Yes, and just 59 now through 6. Now a chance for Mark Gregory with just the benefit of 1 mark to take the lead.
And a big fill. Will he get all of them? Yes! Strike on spare. Looked for a moment like the 7 and the 8 would both stay up. And then they both went over.
Right here, it looks like they're almost standing still. And then they both started to wobble, and Mark Gregory gave a little more body English, and over they went. Looking for the double. 1/3 of the way to the jackpot.
Pull that one. Mark with the lead, though, now.
Oh, right around the 4 and 7. This is the first time we're going to find Steve Plante behind. Is that correct?
Well, I was just looking back. He never trailed in last week's match. Of course, he was tied when Joe came back at him in the 3rd game. But Steve did trail briefly in the match against Rich Hallberg on a couple of occasions. But for the most part, he's been front-running during his previous 2 weeks.
5 and 7 in a real difficult piece of wood next to the 5, another one way out in front to the right. Oh, the ball came back.
Well, Steve picks up his 3rd mark, all on lane 32.
I never thought he had a chance on this one, but the ball kept the ball in play, and once the ball hits something legal, like the wood in front of that 5-pin or next to the 5, anything can happen.
Now he needs a fill, and he gets it this time on lane 31 after going through the center twice. 8 this time, and a chance for another.
Yeah, trying to corral the 2 and the 4 to make it 2 in a row.
Nope. So instead, it'll be a 9 and 86 through 8. Just missing the head pin.
Steve will cut into some of that 17-pin lead of Mark Gregory's with that spare 8. Cuts the lead now, just the 8.
There it
goes.
Maybe more. Yes. Second strike for Mark Gregory.
You see a crashing 9, needs help on the 6, and here it comes.
Steve Plante. He's in the pocket. Thin hit, though.
Yes, a real light that time. 3, 7, 9, 10.
Nope. $8 in the 9th. So, Dan, you feeling a little hungry right about now?
Yeah. Yeah, really.
After the show,
can we take a break?
Well, no, not right now. But
oh, well, that's what you asked me.
After
Right.
Well, if you can wait.
My mother told me not to lie.
After the show,
all right,
we head over to the Willow Tree North Restaurant, located right here inside Park Place Lanes. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, all at great prices. Rodney Cronin and the staff.
I think they have food to go too.
Is that right?
I think they might be able to bring some out to us.
Wow. The Willow Tree North Restaurant. It's where the crew eats, and it's where we eat too.
I suppose if we brought out that the crew would have to have some of it.
Gee, you think? 102 for Steve Plante. So an opportunity here for Mark Gregory. Already in the lead and working on a strike. drills it right through the middle.
Happened to both bowlers now on Marks. Driving the ball right, head on the head pin, straight back.
Oh my, and on a strike, Phil, just 3. And a 5 box. And all of a sudden the lead is down to 9.
Just gained 1 pin in those 2 frames with the benefit of that strike. So Steve Plante dodged a bullet there.
Through the center again. This time the 4, 6. The 3, 4, 6, and 10. 7 rather. Can I try again?
Go ahead.
3, 4, 6, and 7.
By golly, you've got it.
Oh, and Mark Gregory almost had it too for the spare.
I think this is in jeopardy because you only get 1 shot at it.
Also, I didn't put it in the form of a question, so.
That's true. You still.
That will be a 9 box. Or was it a 10? Did he get it?
Yes.
For a 10, okay. I didn't actually hear the ball hit the pin, and I looked down.
You're having trouble. We better take a break.
Okay, let's take a break. Maybe we better get that food. 10 box for Mark Gregory. He has an 11-pin lead after 1 championship match here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes.
Candlepin Stars and Strikes is brought to you in part by Tri-State Megabucks, once again bringing you the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions.
$50 in the bonus ball contest coming up at the end of the hour. Be sure and send regular size postcards only, please, with your name, your address, and the number from 1 to 10. The number, of course, the pinfall you think will drop on the bonus ball at the end of the show. Send those cards into Park Place Lanes, Route 28, Windham, New Hampshire, 03087. And we'll see if we can get ourselves a winner at the end of the hour. We'll be getting ourselves a winner in this match, too, for $1,000 and a spot in the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions. And how about a 9 drop from Mark Gregory to start the game? Mark with an 11-pin lead after 1. And the spare, wood frozen in the back.
Just barely caught that 5-pin.
Yeah. 4 marks now. 2 spares, 2 strikes for Mark Gregory. Steve Plante with 3 marks to this point. Well, in the first game, both bowlers were victimized by low fill counts. Steve Plante had a 3 on a spare. Mark Gregory had a 3 on a strike in the first game, but this time he drops 9. And after a piece of wood is cleared away from well out in front of the pin deck, Mark will be shooting. Yeah, Mark will have a chance at his second single pin in a row for a spare. With the wood there to guide him in, Mark Gregory converts 2 spares in a row. Steve Plante.
Through the middle again.
Oh, how about it?
Good try, but you had to figure that was the problem pin. That was the one he needed to find a way of knocking down. Good effort, though.
And a 10 box. Candlepin Stars and Strikes brought to you in part by Tri-State Megabucks. And now with Mega Cash, choose your dream. Tri-State Megabucks. A little better pocket hit that time, but still a split.
Still a little heavy, but not too bad that time. But as you said, nothing really decent to shoot at for a spare. 3-6-10 on the right with the 4-pin.
And he walk it over. Just tickled the 4-pin. Not enough to knock it down. And a couple of 10 boxes, but Mark Gregory extends the lead here. As you see, it's now at 20, and Mark will extend it with this first ball on the spare. The fill is just 5, though. And the lead is 25. Seven.
And 41.
Oh, well, I guess Mark discovered the secret. Missed the head pin, dropped 7, and maybe has a chance at a spare here.
Oh,
wow.
Everything but the 7. So he'll be open 2 frames. Chance for Steve Plante to get a few of these back.
Mark waiting for that wood. Just picking up speed, it seems, as it rolls away. And a 10 bucks.
And 51 through 4.
So an opportunity here for Steve Plante, who really hasn't been able to get anything going so far in this match. And there's something going. His first strike.
Still throwing the ball well. I thought the first game it looked like he was leaving the ball a little bit behind himself, which is usually a sign of a little bit of fatigue setting in. But the last few boxes, he's got the ball right out in front. And another one.
Go for the double.
Oh, it wants to go.
Oh, yes!
There it is.
Steve had already picked up another ball. I don't think he saw it go over. We will take a break. When we come back, Steve Plante goes for $1,200 as the championship match continues.
Candlepin Stars and Strikes is brought to you in part by Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan.
All right, we are back. The crowd buzzing during that last break. Steve Plante with a double strike hanging. And not only that, but probably will erase most of that 25-pin deficit.
Probably all of it with a decent fill in the first ball.
But first, Mark Gregory with a chance to answer.
And he'll shoot at the 3, 5, 6, and 10 with no playable wood.
To this point, just at about the halfway mark of the match, both bowlers with 3 spares and 2 strikes. But Steve Plante's 2 strikes have come back to back.
.61 at the halfway point. Still leading by 12. However, that doesn't take into account the fills on those 2 strikes put up by Steve.
Better hit that time for Mark. He'll leave the 2 and the 4. For the spare. Well, that might make Mark feel a little better here as he's about to watch Steve Plante fill this double strike. $1,200 if Steve can throw another one right here.
I don't know if Mark's a watcher.
Everybody else here
that
is
looks...
watching. Oh, he's going to get robbed. Oh, do you believe it?
My.
Oh, my. That close to $1,200.
That was as good as the other two. And at first, I thought he was going to be left with the back row plus the 5 and 6 or something. And all of a sudden, the wood came across and cleared out the other 4 pins, but left the 10.
He keeps his concentration for the spare. Well, what happens here is when the wood comes out to take out the left side, it's going from right to left. Watch, it comes off the sidewall, misses the 10 pin, and it takes care of everything else. Wow. Close calls the last couple of weeks.
Certainly has.
For this triple strike jackpot.
But Steve takes over the lead, at least temporarily.
Fills the spare with 6. That's an 85 half for Steve Plante to take the lead in the match. Chance for another. No. I don't think he hit that head pin right where he wanted
Need
to.
a little more of the head pin. Yeah, I just barely caught it. But that's a pretty good run. 95 through 6, a 13-pin advantage, and some of that will be erased now with Mark's spare in the 6th.
Wait, this series we've had what, 3 or 4 double strikes?
And a lot of strike 9-pin drops and then another strike. I think that might have been the closest one, though. Double strike and then 9.
Oh, boy. Well, Mark Gregory has to kind of gather himself again and get back to work. Had a lead of more than 20 pins. Now he trails by 9. And a half Worcester. Suppose bowling fans in Worcester are upset that they're associated with such a negative thing.
I don't know. Maybe we can have people from Worcester area kind of write in and tell us. We can turn around blaming it on somebody else because it wasn't us that coined the term.
No. Happened long before we ever started here.
Now 2 open frames. Steve Plante to build on the lead after catching Mark Gregory through the 16th box of the match. After trailing by as many as
25.
25. Makeable spare here in the 3, 6, and 9. Piece of wood's out. A couple pieces of wood out in front.
He's got another one.
7th. Increases the lead to 11 plus this ball.
Sixville, and not the 6 he would have wanted. Not much happening there. Candlepin Stars and Strikes brought to you in part by Coca-Cola. Always the real thing. Always Coca-Cola. An 18-pin lead in the match for Steve Plante as he's turned things around here in Game 2. We'll move to the final 2 boxes. The match has been reasonably close all the way, so we really haven't been paying too close attention to the total pinfall at this point, but the score's running relatively low. Not anything spectacular so far. The lowest score among the qualifiers to this point is 362 for Chris Grimes.
Oh boy, 5 and 9, and just picked the 5-pin out. Too full in the 5 and didn't have a chance for the 9.
And it's still a 9. So Mark moves to the 10th. Missing the headpin. Mark started this game with 2 9 drops converted for spares, but hasn't really been able to do much since.
And he'll be open in the 10th.
With a 9 box and a 109, 2-game total of 222. Steve Plante getting the mix. It's the 2, 7, and 8. Could be interesting with the wood.
Yeah, it looks like the 2 and the 7 should clear out of there. It's a matter of whether or not you can carry the 8-pin. There's a second piece of wood in the channel next to the 7, which should help this other piece come out.
Yes.
Oh, just carry the ball right straight through. Good shot. Push the lead to 19 plus this ball. And if he was to throw another mark, he could push the lead up to 30, 35. Oh, it's a big ball.
8 fill. Chance for another.
Yeah,
if the wood cooperates.
Yeah, the wood turned, but then it turned back a little bit. And now you can see Steve kind of convince it to roll back against the 5, but it's not going to. Another time where you maybe should slow the ball down if you can. Keep it in play, but
play
just going to have to go right straight at it.
No, he got it. Looked easier than it, or
made it look
was easier than it looked, yeah.
148 and a ball.
Great middle game, helped out by that double strike for Steve Plante. And he's finishing with a flourish here. Lost control of that one, though. Just 3, 151, and a 2-game total of 253. So a 31-pin lead for Steve Plante with 1 game to go to decide the championship here on Candlepin Stars and Strikes. Steve Plante getting some encouragement from the crowd. Ready to pick up Game 3 here on Stars and Strikes. Leads by 31 pins. You saw the damage he's done so far in 9 marks. Most of those, 6 of them, came in the second game at 151. And included in that 151 came within an eyelash of cleaning us out for $1,200 in the triple strike jackpot. $8. Steve?
You're 31 pins ahead. First thing you want to do is get that first mark up there. As he remembers from last week, leading by 45 against Joe Tavernese, and all of a sudden after 4 boxes, it's even.
Now, the way the wood is positioned here, this could be something good. Let's see. Yeah. Everything kind of connected with that wood down there.
And kind of kept everything in play, too. Goes right to the sidewall, comes back across into the 8-pin, I believe, 9-pin, and then into the 7. And that's a good mark to put up one of your first 2 frames with a 31-pin advantage. Get your opponent thinking right away.
Well, Mark Gregory's got to be thinking strikes right now.
He's thinking.
And he's thinking hard, but it's not going to go over this time.
Yep, it's the 6-pin with a piece of wood next to it. It's got room to miss it to the left.
Got it.
Must have listened to me. Yeah, going to miss it to the left. The wood was frozen, was going to kick forward.
7 marks now for Mark Gregory. Hasn't really been able to bunch them together.
Well, now's the time.
No question about that. Oh, just 4.
Remember, it's Chris Grimes in 3rd place for the Tournament of Champions at 362. Then it goes to 368, Chris Sargent. And then, of course, the leader is Paul Berger at 417.
Well, I'd say Paul Berger is probably safe unless somebody gets very hot.
But the other 2 are definitely within reach. Oh, nice out.
Very nice out.
10? No, just 9.
But he's probably going to lose more ground here in the first 2 boxes, depending on what Steve Plante does on this fill. Drop 7.
And it's an ugly 7, really. 4, 8, and 10. Look like we got a better break than what he did. But what he did was use up 2 frames and increase his lead a little more.
Steve from Manchester, New Hampshire. Another tough 7 drop. This time the 3, 7, and 9.
Well, obviously you got to play the wood in front of the 3-pin, but I don't know how he's going to get something to come back for the 7.
Way to the right, and it almost worked. He went as far right as he could. Very nearly got it. But here's a good opportunity now for Mark Gregory. Let's see what happened on that attempt. Watch how far right he goes on this wood. Just catching the end of it.
The wood actually goes between the 3 and the 6 before it knocks him down. Well, you're right. Crucial point in the match but for Mark Gregory, opposite 2 open frames, trailing by 33.
Spare lead.
3-6 left. Got to be thinking 3-pin. I have to have the 3-pin.
And he's got them both. Now looking for the big fill.
That's right. He's got to be concentrating head pin on this one. If he goes through the middle, that's so be it, but you have to hit the head pin. No, he threw his hands up. He knew it was too full, but by doing that, he just missed maybe a 9-pin drop or a strike by a 1/4 of an inch one way or the other. Game of inches sometimes.
The lead right now is 28. Steve Plante.
And he wants to bail out 9 or 10 here if he could. It's going to be tough. 3, 6, 10 on the right, 4, 7 left.
7 and 44 for both bowlers through 4 boxes, and we will take a timeout. Steve Plante holding on to that 31-pin lead. We'll see if he can hold on for the championship when we come back. Well, while we were away, the bowlers continued. Steve Plante went spare 9 spare, and then Mark Gregory was able to answer with a strike in the 6th, but going to have to maybe throw a double in order to have a chance, Dan.
Yeah, it's getting to that point now. He knew he had to throw strikes, and he did put one up in the 6th. But that was after after Steve put up 2 spares. Oh, he just missed that headpin to make it 3 marks in a row.
Running a little bit long on time. That's why we had to have the bowlers continue while we were away. But Steve Plante put up back-to-back spares. Mark Gregory responded with a 10 and then the strike that you see in the 6th. That could be a very important next ball that Mark throws. If he were to throw another strike on top of it when he comes up, things could change quickly. Meanwhile, Steve Plante may be open for 2 frames here, which could tighten things up. Nine box for Steve Plante. And indeed, 2 open frames. Candlepin Stars and Strikes brought to you in part by Rockingham Toyota Dodge Nissan. Come to Salem and save. Route 97, Salem, New Hampshire.
45 down, working on a strike. You need at least 3 more marks, which would help him would be a double strike, obviously.
Because that would count as 2 marks, really.
Right.
Off the head pin.
No, it leaves himself the 1, the 6, and the 10. He's got to play the head pin. Either send the head pin down into the 6-10 or have the ball deflect off the head pin.
Oh, got
he's
it.
got it. Still alive. 35 and a chance to cut it to 25. See the replay in that? Head pin went down and took out the 6-10. 35 pins minus this ball can cut it to 25 with a strike. Actually 24.
Through the middle again, needs another break and does not get it. However, I was going to say if both of those pieces of wood are frozen, that would help, but if they're together in a V, that might help too.
I think if he catches a piece of that 2-pin with the angle of the wood, he's got a chance of making the 6-pin with a piece of wood in front of it. You could possibly go where they meet with the V, but I think I'd try to chance it with a 2. And he's going to go for the V. No,
got it.
Good shot.
3 in a row for Mark Gregory.
26. Lead is 26, minus the ball when he gets back up. If I were Steve, I'd want a mark.
Yeah.
Final 2 frames for Steve. Mark Gregory bats last. What you don't want is a bad box.
Steve really lofted that ball out there.
Yes, he did. It's an 8. Well, on the other side of the coin, if you want keeping track of the scores, you can see he's at 258, 358 right now. So he would need a mark to take over second place, assuming that Mark Gregory doesn't catch him.
Uh-oh. It's going to be a struggle just to get a 10 box now.
$10 would tie him, I believe, with Chris Sargent. Ooh, nice strike.
Yep, you're correct. If he gets both of these, he'll have 368.
Yeah, I don't know what Chris had, but he's got 151 for a high single, so we'll decide what. Well, it's not going to make any difference because it's 9. He's 367.
So 367 for Steve Plante. Now he just has to find out if that's enough. Mark Gregory will need a 145 in this game to tie the match. So he's going to need 2 more marks. Even if he were to throw a strike here, he'd still need another mark in addition to that.
Tough feeling for Steve standing to my right. He just, nothing he can do now except watch. It's a decent fill, but that wood is not turned around enough to carry that 9. He's going to have to come up real high in the wood and turn it.
With that 7 fill now, Mark needs 36 pins in the last 2 boxes to tie.
It's a tall order in itself. It's got to come up high. Oh, he did, and he still left the 9 pin.
Wow.
Now he's going to need a double strike.
Yes. $10-119. We'll take another look at it.
Thought he had a chance, but this, just everything turned away, and one pin went to the right, 1 pin went to the left of the 9 pin.
Well, comes down to this ball. This must be a strike in order to keep him in the match, just to give him a chance. Pulled it, turned away. The pins are still falling, but it's not going to be a strike. Steve Plante has won 3 matches in a row. He will advance to the Tri-State Megabucks Tournament of Champions coming up in the spring, and he will fit himself in between Chris Sargent and Chris Grimes with a 367. We'll wait for Mark Gregory to throw this final ball. We'll give you the final score. Great match. Both of these bowlers right down to the finish. 367 for Steve Plante. 351 for Mark Gregory after he wins the 3rd game with a 129. We will be back on Stars and Strikes after these words. Welcome back to Candlepin Stars and Strikes. A $500 check for Mark Gregory, but it is the 2nd place check, Mark, not the one you wanted. But Steve kept you on the run today.
Yeah, Steve, neither one of us really bowled well, but Steve bowled well enough to win. I just never got on my game.
Well, you've been here a lot, it seems, the last couple of months, so maybe you'll have time for one more crack at it before the season ends.
Well, let's hope so.
All right, Mark, thanks very much. Congratulations. That $500 2nd place prize, and now we will check in with Steve Plante once again, who will, after 2 close calls the last couple of weeks, try and get us a winner in the bonus ball contest. Well, let's see. It's 4. Reach in there, Dan, see if you can pull out a 4. Not a match for Don Stickney from Boscawen, New Hampshire, who says he always enjoys both shows every week. We appreciate that, Don. Don's guess was 8. We'll be sending him a consolation gift. And for you, sir, we have a check for $1,000, and you're going to be back in the spring. And you had him all the way, right?
Never, never. I was holding on for dear life at the end there. He came on strong. He was bowling well, and I was just fortunate. That's all.
It's interesting, too, that of the 3 weeks that you won, the lowest score you had was today, and yet it was enough to win.
Well, I'm just fortunate that I won, that's all. I'm happy I won.
Well, as of right now, you're the number 3 seed. We'll see how that score holds up for the rest of the season, but we know we'll be seeing you in the spring for the Tournament of Champions. Congratulations.
Thank you, Doug.
All right, Steve, congratulations. Steve Plante, our 4th qualifier for the Tournament of Champions. It wasn't easy. His best score, actually, was his first one, the 382. Then he had a 372 last week, and now this week a 367, but enough to win.
That's right. Just a real gutsy performance the last 3 weeks. He got him when he needed him, and he's in.
$1,000 richer as well. Next weekend, we will have 2 more great matches for you. Candlepin Skins, Saturday at noon. Back here Sunday at noon to start a new series on Stars and Strikes. Until then, for Dan and the whole crew,